Welcome to this edition of Monitoring the Pulse. As always, I am your host, Arash Bakhshandehpour. For this episode, I am joined by Candice Helm, the CEO and co-founder of Hatch Credit. Candice, thank you for joining.
Yeah, of course.
Candice, before I jump in with my bombardment of questions, I'd love to hear from you and for the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also about Hatch.
Yeah, so Candice Helm, I started my career 20 years ago in the credit repair industry. I'm working for some of the biggest players in the industry. During that time, I met and talked with hundreds of Americans whose credit reports were barriers to entry into, to get any kind of opportunity. Hey, to home buying, purchasing power, getting a car loan, getting into that apartment they want. And so I just really connected with these customers. At the same time, that customer connection, that customer centricity kind of pushed me into product leadership, because that's really what product is, hey, how do we really identify problems we can solve and come up with, beautiful, seamless solutions for people. And so that combination really trajected my career, hey, credit repair into product leadership, and then moved into B2B SaaS, and lived in the private equity world, working on scaling product operations and technology and all of that. So that's a little bit about my career professionally. And then that ended up leading me into Hatch, which is the meshing of those two worlds. It's the credit repair and the product and customer centricity. But personally, I'm a Utah local. Man, I was just talking about, I'm really into WWE right now, following some wrestling. I'm like, one new hobby I've taken up recently is golf. So, which is also just a really frustration tolerance exercise for me. And so,
Nothing will test your patience like getting into
Yes.
golf. Nothing. So I'm curious, Candice, so the journey from operating on the product side of things and executive on the product side of things as well in product leadership, was there like an aha moment of, I have an idea and I want to take this to market with Hatch?
It was a culmination of, like I said, working for somebody else in that industry, talking with those customers and understanding them, and really seeing a missed opportunity. And as a leader of product of that organization, I remember going to the executives with these ideas, and they were very had some antiquated philosophies, and didn't want to. Basically, what they had leaned into is, hey, we're going to charge $150 to $200 a month for this kind of product. And I was looking at the market, hey, there's a real opportunity to offer something with less bells and whistles, something more affordable, more accessible, and easier to understand. And actually pitched that to them. And they were like, no, we can't offer something that low price. It'll cannibalize this product. They were squeezing tight to that. So, when I left there, that was always in the back of my mind. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do this different. I want to do this in a way. Hey, I want to be able to offer a solution to this market I had been chatting with that weren't signing up for this really expensive product. Hey, how do I do that? So I left there, man, it's been 8+ years since I left there. So it was always just kind of in the back of my mind. I waited for my non-compete to go up, and then I started working on Hatch pretty quick. It was a year after I left there. I started kind of putting together the ideas, hey, coming with the brand, and starting to think about the price point and our go-to market, and kind of gathering the right people to help me do this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like an aha. It was years of knowing these customers and understanding them, and not realizing there's no solution out there that's going to do this. And this company I was working for wasn't going to do it. So, okay, bye.
Sure.
I'll do it.
What better opportunity?
Yeah.
So you mentioned historically what the services that have been out there. One, there's probably a barrier of entry if it's cost prohibitive. There's probably more bells and whistles that are necessary. So strip it down, and fundamentally, how is Hatch different than these antiquated systems or processes or services that have already existed out there?
Yeah, a handful of ways. So one, we wanted to make it more affordable. That one's very straightforward. We wanted to, hey, this people are already in a spot financially. How do we make this really affordable? So our price point is $39.99 a month. We wanted to make sure there was no fine print. There was no long-term contracts. It was, hey, make it really easy to cancel. That was another thing that these companies were doing is, hey, people were signing up And then it was so hard to cancel, and they kept charging them. And hey, you gotta like get on the phone to cancel. Hey, get really
Yep.
easy. Hey, like we're not predatory. Hey, we want to help you if you can afford this low price point, and we want to, open up opportunities for you. But we are not here to like put you in a spot. And then, so just from a pricing contractual standpoint, hey, we want to be really transparent, really straightforward. Second, we really wanted to tailor the product to approval. The whole reason we have credit scores is just to get approved for what you need. And
Sure.
so really positioning Hatch rather than traditional credit repair is really, we're calling it credit prep. Hey, we want to prepare your credit for approval. It's kind of like tech services, right? It's like, hey, we want to get you ready hey, you got denied. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. This happens all the time. But guess what? We're going to tell you why you were denied. We're going to help you understand what's impacting your score, and what's impacting that you getting that approval. And then we're going to specifically work on those things that are impacting that specific approval. So, hey, if it is a first time home buying, hey, for an FHA, hey, there's different stipulations, I guess, requirements to get approved for that. And hey, how we're going to tailor it to that approval. Hey, that is your goal. We want to get you to that goal. Hey, if it's a car loan, if it's getting, a small business loan, whatever it is, hey, we want to get there. Some people, it's just, hey, I'm like, we have a number of older customers. Hey, I'm 65 and I
Sure.
just like, this is bugging. I like used to have an 800, like just fix this. So just depending, we really tailored it. Those out in the market now, a lot in this industry, it's just blanket repair. The other piece that differentiates Hatch, which I personally love, is we are really leaning into the storytelling and the context. So much of the credit ecosystem is so transactional. It is one missed payment. It is a number and a score based off of a silly algorithm. You don't hear the stories about what's happening for these people in their life.
Sure.
And behind every missed payment is a story. It is a life event. It is a period of time. It is a brief moment in their life that then haunts them for years and years and years and years, right? So it's like, hey, what Hatch does is we capture, hey, what was going on for you during that time? And we're leaning into the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that things have to be fair, accurate, and substantiated. So a lot of the players in the credit repair industry lean into accurate, substantiated. We say they'll communicate with the credit bureaus and say, hey, just verify this. No, we're leaning into the fairness piece, which is, hey, we are going to represent our customers, tell their story to the credit bureaus and the creditors to give that context. Hey, I went through a really messy divorce and there was some confusion on who was taking over these payments.
Yeah.
I have since made on-time payments for the last 4 years to you. Hey, can you consider removing this one missed payment? These are the kinds of things saying, hey, we have people, hey, I got deployed for 10 months. Last minute, I did not have time to set up autopay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when I was 19, my mom opened a credit card in my name. I didn't know until now that I'm looking to buy a car. These
Sure.
things that are just like don't fairly represent who these consumers are as borrowers. And so we capture that story from them, and then we then use that to give that context and tell that story and advocate on their behalf based off of the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Yep. And it's so interesting hearing you talk about this because I can't help but like reflect on my experiences and also people that I know. So much of credit and credit repair feels like a black box for the consumer end of things.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what is affecting what is weighed more differently than other things, other than what I read generally out there. So when you're talking about the Fair Credit Reporting Act and there being a lever there, the consumers can pull on, which is context.
Yes.
I imagine majority of the people and majority of the clientele that Hatch is supporting had no idea that's even an option that's on the table, is to bring that to the conversation.
Yes. Yes. I mean, this is why the Fair Credit Reporting Act existed, because you were
Yeah.
talking about, hey, consumers have to have a right in this ecosystem that's run by for-profit gigantic organizations. The
Yeah.
credit bureaus
Yeah.
are worth probably billions. I mean, they are worth so much, and they are the ones controlling what this score says about you and what you have access to. And then every other part of the ecosystem is depending on that, right? So every kind of lender, every bank, they're paying the bureaus to pull these scores. I mean, it is just like, hey, how can the consumer have some rights here? And there's a baby act that that was set up to, hey, you can do this, but like it's a lot for consumers to do. And like I said, every person has a right to do this themselves. It's just a lot to take on these big bureaucracies. And so that's what we're doing is, hey, help, let us take that on for you for a small price point and see what we can do. We're just going to take it on for you. And like I said, we can't guarantee results. We don't know. We don't control how they're going to respond. But we'll do everything we can to represent that consumer and fight, to get them in a better spot, to fight to get them the credit that better represents them. So
Sure.
yes, and most people don't know. I mean, most people don't know. They've probably heard of credit repair, which also has a bad name and is a highly regulated industry because a lot of people got into the space and are really predatory. And so that's why we're like, hey, no, we're like different. We're like, it's a big fight to fight. It's a big it's a big thing to bite off, to try and go into the space and like, hey, how do we position ourselves that's not traditional credit repair that has a bad name?
Yep.
That also opens up an awareness for consumers that you have this right. So yeah, that's like, these are all the complexities of
Yeah.
this new startup. What our growth will be like. Hey, where do we spend our dollars?
Yeah. And that's actually a nice segue because we've talked about like the ideation phase of
Mhm.
Hatch. Then we have talked about the, like, call it positioning in market as far as like what the value props are. I think we talked about price, bespoke service, and then also like the story context piece. That is that additional lever that we talked about. Now I would like to dig into more about what you just mentioned, which is how has the go-to-market strategy looked and what is it currently now as you're evaluating scaling and getting your market presence out there?
Yeah. So, before we launched to market, we had been out, at conferences to kind of understand. Like, I'd been in the industry for so long, and then left it, right? And in the background, after I left, I was building the product of Hatch, but I wasn't in the marketing. Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, I knew how I wanted to position, I knew what I wanted, but hey, I was like, we were actually building.
Yeah.
And we were doing the branding, the UX, and then the backend implementation. And so about 2 years before launching, it was like, and I'm gonna full disclosure, it took me a long time to launch. I was like, I've self-funded Hatch, working full-time as a tech executive. So just kind of, it was a really interesting entrepreneurial journey because it was very much, hey, there would be 6 to 9 months where we didn't touch it because we just had life and jobs and then we would go heads down and then we wouldn't touch it. So it was the idea there was, hey, my mentality is always move, keep moving, and it's okay the pace, right? So
Sure.
just that gives you additional context of like the building. So in the background of our lives for about 5 years, just kind of building it and not launching it, and figuring out all the stuff of the startup.
Yeah.
Anyways, so about 2 years before launching, we got back in the market, went to some conferences to kind of just gauge what was going on. And initially at that conference, it was very much, we talked to a lot of partners or a lot of companies who had people who were being denied and they couldn't offer their lending product, right? So you're talking like realtor.com and, any kind of, there was like a bunch of financial services
Sure.
companies like that were, like any of the like not payday loans, but like personal loans, like Lending Point. And, there's a number of those out there. We were kind of just
Hmm.
feeling it out. They often had denials that they couldn't approve. And so our initial thought on go-to-market was, okay, great. There's like opportunity here to kind of do like a B2B play. Hey, how do we offer Hatch when a company has a denial? We take that customer, we get them prepared for that approval and get them back to that company. So that was kind of like in our heads, okay, we got this B2B. We were calling it like denials as a service. This was like how we were ideating on go-to-market.
Okay.
So it was always our plan. So anyways, fast forward a couple years, finally we're heads down, get the product done. We launch it to market. We're live. And we were like, okay, now how do we like get people in the door? Because we had kind of had this idea, but we hadn't really prepared our go-to-market. I'll
Sure.
just be honest. We hadn't. We were like, so heads down, let's get this out. So we were live. So then the next step was our approach to, hey, let's just like get some customers in there. Let's figure out how to like work through some of the kinks that might be happening. Let's see what, hey, our take rate is, what our pay rate is, what our onboarding rate is, all of that. We needed to like flesh all that out with real customers.
Sure.
So I just thought the most high intent would be on paid search. So, hey, for people who are already know what credit repair is, are looking for it, let's get these high intent people into our funnel and see how it goes. So that's what we spent our last summer doing, is really getting customers, high intent customers off of paid search through the funnel and working through kind of any of the kinks. What we found was people would pay us. We were like, oh my gosh, we're like out there in the world and people are signing
Great.
up and paying us. This is it. We're like actual founders. We have a company, which was very cool. And then it was, hey, we're getting payment. And then, hey, are people onboarding? Are they able to authenticate to pull their report? Are they giving us their story? Part of that is all online, this beautiful, seamless onboard. Hey, are we seeing any drop off? And good signs all around, good signs all around. Then it was like, hey, what is like the average lifetime value? How long are they staying? Like there was so much to look at and so much juicy data, because they're first customers and like, how is this going? So we were really kind of heads down focused on that and looking at that. And at the same time, starting to look at, hey, could we test, let's test some social, let's test some TikTok, let's test some Reddit ads, let's test some blip billboards. It was kind of like, just kind of throw a little bit of money out there just to see what was sticking. We had kind of in that midst lost track of that B2B play, and we were just kind of getting these ones and twosy customers, which was very exciting. But all of a sudden we were like 4 months down there, we're like, this is not, we don't personally have the budget to go do a big awareness campaign and to spend a ton of money here.
To scale this.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's really more realistic on scaling it? And we came back to that B2B play. So since the summer in October, there's a big fintech conference in Las Vegas called Money 2020. And so we attended that and we're really focused on getting partnerships. And so that's where we're at today is, hey, since then we've had a few key partnerships. And of course I have this huge CRM of everybody we talk to and just getting on timing and all of that. But just getting, implementation through some of those partnerships. One example of this is which surprised us because the amount of things you need credit for is wild. But we talked with a door-to-door sales group who they were creating a seamless software to support door-to-door. But you're talking about door-to-door sales that are going in and, if you've ever had one of these people come in and try to sell you solar or a house remodel or roofing, they're spending a lot of time with you and they're invested. I just did this with a solar representative like 5 months ago. This is before we talked to this partner. But they're invested and then they're like, great, the customer's like, let's do this. And they go to pull your credit. You don't have enough credit. You don't have good enough credit score to qualify for solar. And just to give another example of like how wild this is, you're talking people who are having to spend like $800 a month on electricity, but not qualifying to reduce that to $200 a month and invest in more sustainable energy. Does that make sense? Like,
It doesn't
they
make
have
sense,
enough
but it does
money
make
to
sense.
pay $800 a month on their electricity bill, but not we're saying they couldn't pay, you know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of like, hey, that's a really interesting partnership because you're spending so much time. Hey, we can't, those are sunk costs to these businesses. Hey, this is like a big sunk cost. Hey, we want to make sure it's not. And we want to help these consumers get in a better place financially, right? Hey, that would put them in such a better position. $800 to $200. They want to do the right thing. But yeah,
Yep.
that's like an example of kind of that B2B is how do we start to implement these partners where, hey, we're getting the customer at that pain point of denial. And then we're pitching that credit prep. Hey, we'll prepare you to be approved next time.
Yep.
And here's our partner Hatch Credit that's going to help you do that. Doing that with mortgage. We're doing that with mortgage partners, credit cards. It's kind of all over the place industry-wise, which has been kind of interesting and fun. So that's what we're heads down doing right now. That's our plan.
It makes sense. And I think it speaks more to the value of what Hatch can kind of bring to the market for consumers as well, because there's some, I would say, confusing nuances, even like with the example that you just walked through of like, this just doesn't make sense for this to be a blocker. So services like this, I think, have a very specific value. Looking at the journey, like the piece that you just kind of shed light on was time spent in product ideation and building it out while still holding a W-2 job. And then from there, playing around with the different go-to-market strategies, whether it was paid search, whether it was acquisition on, like you call it, like the singles and doubles there with independent users, and now the B2B play. So thus far, the journey has had different phases. What's the single biggest insight? If I put you in a room with a bunch of other, call it peers, first-time entrepreneurs, ones that made the transition out of W-2, what's the single biggest insight that you would share with that audience?
Specifically on go-to-market?
Anything. Finding a business, launching a
Biggest
business,
insight.
product, single biggest. Yeah.
I think the biggest, okay, this may not answer it exactly. I want to say the biggest surprise for me. I'm coming from, hey, my entire career, decades working in, at the executive level in tech, which I always tease, like working with low functioning executives is hard. If you've ever done it, it's hard. And it's hard in high growth tech companies during big booms. It was challenging. Mentally, emotionally, like there's so much, right? Like psychologically that happens there. And that was hard. This always thinking, oh my gosh, like, because I like the autonomy. I like control. I was always like, hey, this will give me that freedom, which it has. It is a whole level of different hard, like a different, like it's like a different, psychologically, it's way different hard. It's a better hard, but it's a different hard. And I don't know how else to describe it. I love talking to founders that are just like, and often the stuff on LinkedIn always catches me if somebody's like, just first time founder, because it's so real. Like the level of the roller coaster that happens from a day-to-day basis of like excitement to despair, because it's so volatile right now, like one customer or two customers or, like a few $1,000s, it's like a big deal. So yeah, the emotional roller coaster of the highs and lows is really, it's interesting. Is like, that's my biggest insight is I'm always like, oh wow, I just had no idea. I don't know how you prepare for that because yeah, you go from being, hey, very successful, getting a great paycheck, getting promotions and knowing your shit to, oh my gosh, I don't know anything and I'm failing. That's been my journey the past year.
I feel like you are
Um,
speaking straight to my heart, Candice.
okay,
Straight,
good. I mean,
right at me.
maybe it's an ego, maybe not psychological, maybe it's an ego thing. Like, oh my gosh. So I think that's the biggest insight and I think that I always tell my partner is we're going to look back and cherish this chapter because I think these are the kinds of things you need to be successful, really. Like, yeah, I could have kept building products for other people and working for somebody else my whole life. And I may end up back there. I don't know. But right now it's like, no, we're going to look back and really feel like this was where the growth happened. I think just personally and professionally and for, to set you up for the future.
And that rings so true as I'm on my own personal journey as well, but also in these
Mhm.
conversations that I'm having with first-time founders. I think that there has been this pretty consistent through line or sentiment of I'd rather have tried and known than to not have tried at all. And I think a lot of people kind of get there in their career, especially high performing either leadership roles or executive roles from the corporate world. I think you get to a point of I should try it. I should do this.
Yes. Yeah.
And the piece that you said, the words that you said that I have verbatim used before is, it is, if not harder, at least a different type of hard or a different type of difficult than anything else that I've done. Right? Like I spent my entire career in sales. I've handled multi-million-dollar negotiations like this. That's something that I imagine I can do in my sleep. But as far as operations, building processes, building a brand, evaluating different strategies for go-to-market, as opposed to like standard things that I've done, everything is new. And there's so much unknown around all of that. Like that's stuff, like I was smirking the whole time you were talking because I could imagine you're just reading my journals and regurgitating this, Candice. Like that's word for word, the experience. But there is a sense of, I think there is like a liberating feeling in the control of the difficulty that you're taking on with something like this. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. It's also, it's nice to know I'm not alone in that. Cause it has you questioning everything. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I even did this. What am I doing? So it feels good. So I think even these conversations are going to be so valuable. It is for me just to know, hey, I'm not alone in this.
And it's hard. because you spend so much time operating on an island. Like you're like, or like you and your partner, it's like, sometimes it's like, it's an echo chamber. I don't know.
Yes.
Is it supposed to be this hard? And the
Yep.
answer more often than not is yes,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
It is.
That's just a matter of it. So a piece I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't ask this, but I'm curious, either from the way that you built the product or the way that you were handling customer interactions. But we are in this modern world of AI is everywhere. There's a full spectrum of emotions and opinions of how people feel about it. I guess a question that I ask every single person that I have on Monitoring the Pulse is what is your general ethos towards AI? Is it integrated into the product is the first question. And then from there, how are you leveraging it on a day-to-day basis? Given you're a product person, I'm sure you have opinions here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have a lot of opinions. I think as a product person, I am not an engineer and never have been, but I've always worked very close with engineers. And as technology evolves, it is, hey, how do we utilize more modern technology to offer value to solving consumer problems? And I think when I think of AI, it is just like another tool in the tool belt. It is, hey, when I look at Hatch and the product, we looked at it like, hey, how can we, especially as we're such a lean team, how can we leverage AI in a way that helps us scale and support our customers and produce better results? It is right now, we have used it more for supporting some very manual processes. And it has saved us a lot of time. I would say we use it with caution in the way that so much of our product is about that storytelling and that personal strategy. And there's a lot that, and there's a lot that AI gets wrong all the time. I mean, I'm using it like, hey, tell me how to do this. And I'm like, wait, that menu doesn't exist. I'm like, show me how to change the setting on my Apple. And I'm like, that doesn't exist on the menu. You're wrong.
No question.
Okay, sorry. So I think part of it is we've leaned into it with a lot of oversight to help take out some manual processes from an operations standpoint, which has been awesome to help us scale and support customers. I think in this kind of service, like I said, we can't lose that human element. There's like a strategy around what we're doing that has come with decades of experience working with credit bureaus and creditors that I think can't be captured from a bot right now. So yeah, that's like my thought on it. I have found it to be, like I said, it is just another tool in our tool belt. Machine learning came out, forever ago too, and we were using that to better look at data. And I think there's a lot of value in that. It's like, yeah, we can use it. It is not going to replace the story and the context that's so important in Hatch and the strategy that comes from the experience that we're bringing. But yeah, like, to be honest, being an entrepreneur right now is awesome. There are so many free tools, like from all aspects, from a creative and messaging and hey, like there's so much. And it will, to me, there's still so many flaws, like we cannot become we haven't been able to lean into it too much because we try, okay, help us tell this story to the bureau. And we're seeing it like missing pieces and like, there's just so much that I'm like, okay, so yeah, that's how I think about it. We're using it with a lot of intentional care, I guess.
Yep. That makes sense. I think you hit on the piece that is most consistent, which is if leveraged as a tool in the toolkit, it eliminates a lot of barriers to entry or barriers to scale or barriers to testing. I couldn't count how many co-founders I've had on so far that I've spoken with that are not product people and are a lean team of two, have not taken on funding and have taken a product to market that 6, 7, 8 years ago, you probably need to take on funding. You probably need to bring on more developers just to get it to market. And then from there, it's a completely different story. So there are advantages there, but I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, and I think we're in the middle of this as well, like a course correction, maybe a little bit, a market correction on the over adoption. And I think that's just like coming with the rate this stuff is changing and growing and evolving. So we've talked about the journey thus far, Candice, and I think you've briefly touched on where strategy sits now as far as like the B2B motion and kind of identifying opportunities there. What do the next 6 to 12 months look like? Are there challenges that you're already anticipating? Are there specific strategies that you're excited to roll out and execute? What is the forecast?
Yeah. Man, our challenge right now is full disclosure. Yeah, we're like I said, we've been live since April-ish. Okay. So like I said, I picture those first 4 months with like a lot of testing. And then since then it's like there's so many good signs. I think the next 6 to 12 months will be really telling on our growth and how we can like actually make this work and keep paying our bills. We are, like I said, we are funding our lives and this business at the same time. So when we launched last year and went, without jobs, all in on this, I was like, hey, we have a year runway to figure out, like year runway on the money. So we're coming, like right now, it's kind of a bit of a crunch time for us. And hey, really some urgency. When you're working B2B, there's like, it's harder to get things off the ground versus like going direct to the market. So I think that's like one of the biggest challenges is yes, these are more scalable, but to get them off the ground and moving, has
Red tape.
taken longer than I want. So that's one of the biggest challenges and making sure, yeah, I think we're just like on this verge of like, hey, how do we keep from not having to go back and get jobs? Is
There
that
with you, my
helpful?
friend.
I mean, I don't literally we just
Oh
need
yeah.
customers. And so I think that's the biggest challenge is, hey, if we identify more partners and get them implemented quicker.
Yep.
And that's I think one of the things I'm kind of in the like is I really identifying the partners like, hey, like I said, I have this big CRM for the conference we went to, but it's just like timing and talking to the right people and getting, so
Mhm.
it's the sales piece. I need you in there, like getting these
Ha!
deals for me. So I'm like, that's a piece where I'm like, yeah, I can build partnerships. Yes, I've done this, but like, this is not like a muscle I've practiced. And so that's where I'm like, cold calling and reaching out and following up and doing all of that has felt like a little out of my comfort zone, but that's like
Sure.
hustle I need to get this business to work.
Yeah. Makes
Yep.
sense. And
Yeah.
I think that I just like not to beat a dead horse, but I think so much of what Hatch is doing addresses something that historically has been there's been a massive barrier of entry to or
Mhm.
barrier for approval for consumers.
Yes.
There's been, like we mentioned earlier, like there's this black box experience where especially early on when people in their lives are having credit issues, they don't really know how they got there and they don't really know what the
Exactly.
path is to like refinement. So
Yep.
there's just so much value, and I think what you're bringing to market, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of traction with these B2B conversations you're having. So I'm stoked for you. The
Thanks.
last question, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with this one, but zoom out a little. And what do you want the reputation of Hatch Credit to be in market?
Oh, that the first thing that comes to mind is that we care. Like that, hey, this is just something I really believe in, and hey, I want to help as many people as possible. And like, hey, this works, and we care. Like whatever you need. Hey, yeah, if it's not working anymore for you, let's figure out how it can. Hey, if you can't afford anymore, that's fine. Hey, you reached your goals, cancel. Great. Like I'm just like, hey, we care. Hey, I want to be like a lot of people want to be like customer centric. No, this is like the whole reason I built this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, hey, all I want to do is pay my bills. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
if I can build a business that helps people and pay my bills, just as long as they know, hey, we care. This is like,
Yeah.
there's no funny business. There is no, like you said, there's no black box here. This is like full transparency. And I talk to customers all the time. We try not to get on the phones because we just, hey, everything's online. But if customers like, hey, I need to talk, and I talk, yes, I'm calling them on my cell phone. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's the first person that feel like's been honest about this. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to tell you how it is. Hey, yeah, I can't guarantee you results. Hey, we're going to do our hard. We're going to do what we can.
Yep.
And we're just fighting some big beasts out there, and let's figure out how to get you in a better spot. And that's what I can offer. And I'll offer it for you at a low price.
Yep.
Like I'll do this for you for cheap.
Yep.
Let's figure this out.
That's the human element we were talking about, Candice.
Yeah,
I think that's
yes.
strong.
Yes, and I am like I have a lot, there's so much in me that is about a real passion for inclusion. And a big part of Hatch is, hey, opening up those opportunities for those underrepresented people. So this is just something I believe in. So yeah, we care. We care.
I,
We want to do something
I
right.
love it. I think it's strong. And again, thank you so much for the time, Candice. I love hearing the stories. these like paths to entrepreneurship. No two paths are ever the same. And I think that spending that much time on building the product and the platform and understanding the ecosystem and the value proposition opportunities that are out there, who it serves and who your customer profiles are, then evaluating your go-to-market strategy. Like this is all the stuff that goes into it. And I wait to watch what the rest of this journey looks like for y'all. For everyone interested, you can find Candice on LinkedIn. It's Candice Helm, and hatchcredit.com as well. Candice, thank you.
Thank you.
I
Good luck to
appreciate
you
you.
as well. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. You got it.
Bye.